Welcome back to Ultimate Combat Radio with your host, Mike Stidham, on 1280 and 97.5 The Zone.
Tiger.
Welcome back to Ultimate Combat Radio. Mike Stidham here talking a little mixed martial arts, and it is time now for the Colbert Report. The Colbert Report is brought to you by Beehive Bell Bonds, because sometimes bad things happen to good people. Now, we haven't had a Colbert Report in a while, and the reason being, as we mentioned earlier in the show, Bill Colbert was running for office, so he had to be nice to people for a couple of weeks, and he did that. Now he's gotten that out of the way. He can go right back to being rotten as he wants to be. And he started things off with a bang. His first rule is that they've proposed since he got back into the swing of things is that if you're a referee, you cannot referee or judge any event or contestant affiliated with a gym or training facility that they've been involved with during the past 12 months. Now, one would think that you would want your referees and judges to be as knowledgeable and as proficient and as insightful as possible. You'd want them to know as much about the sport that they're judging / refereeing, and how are they going to do that without visiting an MMA gym? And in fact, I would strongly suggest that the athletic commissioners go to these gyms and learn what they're regulating. But they're going counterproductively and saying, no, we don't want you going there. We don't want you going anywhere. We want you to sit in your own little circle and not have any affiliation with anybody. And that's just, I'm sorry, it's just stupid. It's just dumb.
I can see how they're trying to keep any favoritism out of the game here, but he didn't think this through very far. He thought it through about one step, had his secretary write it up.
Yeah. Well, look.
Sent it to his other bureaucrat buddies, and here we go.
If there was an issue with a particular referee showing bias toward people that he's trained with, then say, look, you can't do those guys anymore.
I would like to know if this was a result of something like that.
It wasn't, and if there was a complaint, if there was somebody that said, look, we don't look. Here's the thing: as a fighter, you get to pick and choose which promotions you fight for, right? And as a manager, you get to pick and choose where you send your fighters. So if you go to a certain organization that you don't like the referee there, and now the state's assigning all the referees anyway and the judges, but if you're not happy with the referee, just say, I would like him not to do my fight. I'd like somebody else to do it. And there you go. I mean, that's a pretty simple solution to it, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, Mike, on the professional level, with the UFC and the other big shows, all the refs and the judges are paid for by the Athletic Commission. Is that the same in the shows you promote here in Utah?
It's the Athletic Commission is paying them, but you're paying the Athletic Commission to pay them. So that's kind of how it works. I give the Athletic Commission the money, and then they write a check to the judge and the referee. But, again, I'm talking about it's just nonsensical, because you really want to have the best of the best out there doing it, right? And in order for them to do that, they've got to be going to these gyms. So, and then if you see a problem, then solve it. But that's just kind of counter to what the Athletic Commission does. They just, I think you said it perfectly. They look at it at blush level and they say, well, let's make a rule. And they make a rule and they don't really think it through.
Yeah, I got to agree with you here. I think assuming that you have the advantage of having several very capable referees to all ref on one specific night, but that's not necessarily the case on the local level. Sometimes in Utah, you get one ref for the whole night, and you get the best ref you can get.
Right.
And if you have met a guy before.
And if you don't like that referee as a fighter, then say, I'm not going to fight in this promotion. I show up to the weigh-ins, and that's how I find out the referee. I don't want to fight for him because I don't like him. I don't think he's fair, or whatever the case may be. Or Mr. Promoter, get another referee to do my match because I don't want to fight with that guy. That hasn't been the case, though. And again, that's why I understand if there was an issue, then find a solution to the problem. But that's not been the case. They just make problems. They make issues when there aren't any. One thing that I think that they did get right, they made a rule about they're fining contestants for showing up late, which I think is awesome. That's great. But again, they're fining these contestants and they're keeping the money. They're not giving it back to the promoter, the guy that's being negatively affected by it. Another thing they did is they did away with you may recall Bill Colbert and I kind of became at odds a couple years ago because I accused him of charging me too much for events. So he was supposed to charge me $100. He was charging me $200. And I caught him on it and called him out on it. And bottom line is he was stealing money from me, and I called him out on it. And they've done away with that rule now. Now it's all kind of uniform blanket. They said they're going to get rid of the differing event fee schedule. The problem is they didn't ever say what the fee schedule is going to be. They've got the rule change here, but there's no amended fee schedule. So I'll be interested to see how that works out. This is a very clear indicator that they're making rules that benefit Commissioner Montanez's son, because remember, as you got into bigger venues, your event fees went up, and so now they just made it clear across the board. So the little man's getting kind of axed out, whereas the big man's getting an advantage here, and it's just another example of, look, maybe there is some impropriety there, maybe there isn't, but it sure smells bad, that if he's being benefited and the small guy's being adversely affected, that's why you shouldn't have that conflict of interest to begin with. So it doesn't look bad, and it does look bad, and it smells bad, and so in my opinion, it is bad.
Well, if they're going to shine the light on these refs and give them a little heat, as if they may know some of the guys, some of the fighters around the fight game, it seems equally or possibly more negative to have these commissioners working with specific fight shows.
Right. No, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Where they can make the rules that favor these guys, where the refs aren't allowed to make up rules in the cage. They got to
they're
abide by curriculum and training.
Exactly.
Now they have the public's eyes on them all the time.
Exactly. Well, now you want to talk about a real conflict of interest here, which this is kind of amazing. They made a new rule prohibiting promoters from acting as corners. Why? If I'm not at my show, if I'm at another show, why can't I corner one of my guys if I'm a promoter? How is that a conflict in any way, shape, or form? How do you derive a conflict from that at all? So what you're saying is the guys that are coaching guys should never be promoters. They should never be able to promote their own event. I get it. You're cornering at your own event. That kind of looks bad. Judges might be, swayed toward you. But if I'm going down to the steel fist fight and want to corner my own guy, I can't do it. Here's the amazing part. What is a direct conflict? A promoter and a manager. Those guys negotiate contracts, right? They're polar opposites in their design and function. Yet it's not illegal to be a manager and a corner. It's not illegal to be a manager and a promoter. This manager can do anything he wants. You know why? Rich Montanez's son is a manager. He can do whatever the heck he wants to do. And I'll give you an example. Now, does Steel Fist manage Kyle Herrera? That's kind of what he's their manager. He's kind of their.
I think they manage a number of the Mushin fighters.
I don't think there was any impropriety from that regard the other night when Kyle Herrera agreed to fight Mario Espinoza with the weight differences, all right? But it sure looks bad. When the manager of one of the fighters is also the promoter of the event, it looks bad. It just stinks once again, but you allowed that to happen because a promoter and a manager, people that shouldn't be the same, were allowed to be the same. Yet you're not allowing a promoter to corner somebody. It just, again, where is the common sense? Where is the thinking? Where is the rationale that goes behind all of these?
Yeah, I don't quite understand that one. That's one we should hang on to if we never get Colbert on the phone and see if he can explain that to us.
We tried, and his response was, tell Mike I've got better things to do than to be on the Colbert Minute.
Yeah.
It's the Colbert Report. You ding dong. All right. Well, now, if you agree with me that the Athletic Commission really, and I'm telling you, they need to go. If you're concerned about the state budget and you're concerned about Bill Colbert making $107,000 a year, and you think that could be better spent elsewhere, like maybe hiring a couple of maybe 4 teachers at that rate, then write Governor Herbert at gherbert.utah.gov. And let them know that, look, man, send Bill Packin. This is just stuff that, we're tired of what's going on. Your email is going to allow your voice to be heard because there's no one else that oversees these guys except the governor. So gherbert at utah.gov. Send in your message. All right. I did want to touch on the...
Mike, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you recommend replacing the commission with some other entity or just do away with it altogether and just...
honestly, get rid of them. Does the sport of football have a commission that oversees them? Does the sport of hockey have a commission that oversees them? Why is government meddling in regulating fights anyway to begin with? What does that have to do with what we're paying taxes for?
Well, there's got to be regulation in the sport of some aspect.
There should be regulation, and again, it goes back to, look, if a fighter wants to fight, and there's promoter A over here who has no sanctioning body supporting behind it, and there's an organization over here that does have a sanctioning body, he's got the right to choose. I want to go fight for that promoter that's maybe unscrupulous, has a bad reputation. We're big boys here. We're all adults. And if you want to fight, if you want to go skiing, do you have to get a license to go do it? No. Do you have to get a license to go snowboarding? They're both dangerous sports. There are rules that, how the ski resorts they govern themselves. They have to take safety precautions. They have ski patrol up there. They have things that are going to make it safer for you. And if they don't follow those rules, guess what? They're going to get shut down. So if it's unsafe, it's not going to continue to happen. And so personally, I don't think there needs to be an athletic commission. But if you want to have one, put some guys on there that know something about it and let them do it. But I've always maintained, why doesn't hockey have a regulating authority? Why doesn't the state regulate hockey?
Well, there is a lot of regulations that you don't see behind the scenes. I mean, there's people and all kinds of technicians and engineers that guarantee, the temperature and thickness of the ice, the integrity of the glass and the boards, and those are the types of things the commission needs to regulate.
Those are all self-imposed governing. Because let's talk about, if you're going to talk about, I'm talking about recreational hockey. If guys want to go down to an ice skating rink and play hockey, they can do it. You can't do that here in Utah. You can't go down and box somebody if you want to without breaking the law. It's against the law to do that. You and I couldn't go put some gloves on right now and bring people in and have them pay to watch us do it and get away with it. It's illegal.
You make a great argument.
I know. Tell my wife that. All right. Well, that's the end of the Colbert Report. I'm going to put a wrap on it there. I did have a couple other things I wanted to get to, but I'm going to save it for next week, and I want you to tune in next week to listen into it. Once again, gherbert@utah.gov is the place to send your emails. We're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to talk to Barton about the UFC and all the stuff that's going on when we come back.